So this week we are going to discuss moving charges and magnetism and matter. So there are some 40 questions to be discussed as usual. So let us revise the chapter once, important formula and all, then we'll get into MCQs. So first thing, it starts with magnetic effect of electric current, iron state discovery. So whenever there is a current in the circuit, magnetic needle kept in the vicinity of that gets deflected. If you reverse the direction of magnetic field, then direction of deflection also gets reversed. See here, north pole is deflecting this way, here north pole is deflecting this way. So deflection of magnetic needle shows that magnetic field is present around the straight current carrying conductor. This is Oersted's discovery. Then force experienced by a charged particle in the external magnetic field. If there is a charged particle moving in external magnetic field, then it experiences a force F given by Q into V cross B. So it is given by Q into V cross B. So you can write it as QEB sin theta, where theta is angle between V and B. Theta is angle between V and B. So B is strength of magnetic field. V sin theta is component of velocity perpendicular to B. Just make a note of it. We'll move on to next. So direction of field is force is given by left hand rule. So if we stretch first three fingers of left hand such that they are mutually perpendicular to each other, then if index finger points in the direction of magnetic field, middle finger in the direction of velocity, thumb gives you direction of force. Make a note of it. Magnetic force is given by Fleming's left hand rule. So coming to some important points with respect to magnetic force, when charged particle moves perpendicular to direction of magnetic field, theta is equal to 90 degree, force will be maximum. If it moves parallel or anti-parallel, force will be 0. Just make a note of it. Yes, hope you have taken this. Now, when V is equal to 0, F is also equal to 0. So charged particle at rest will not experience any force. If Q is equal to 0, F is 0, that means uncharged particle will not experience force due to magnetic field. Make a note of it. Yes, hope you have taken this. Moving further, so from this we can define the unit of magnetic field, that is Tesla. 1 Tesla is the strength of magnetic field in which charge of 1 coulomb moving perpendicular to direction of magnetic field experiences 1 Newton in a direction perpendicular to both direction of motion of charged particle and to the direction of magnetic field. Make a note of it. So if V is 1 meter per second, Q is 1 coulomb, theta is 90 degree, and force is 1 Newton, then existing magnetic field can be called as 1 Tesla. Yes, hope you have taken this. So we'll move on to next. So this is the conversion factor. 1 Tesla is 10 to the power 4 Gauss. Gauss is electrostatic unit of magnetic field. So dimensions of magnetic field, F divided by QE sin theta. Substitute for dimensions of F, Q, and V. That is sufficient. Sin theta is dimensionless. Just make a note of it. Yes, hope you have taken this. Now coming to magnetic force on a current carrying conductor. So if a conductor carrying current I, the current direction is this. Here is the arrow mark. So this is the arrow mark. So this angle is theta. Theta is angle between magnetic field and current direction. Then it experiences force given by F is equal to I into L cross B. Yes. Hope you have taken this. Shall move on to next. So this is the derivation. Derivation is not needed. Coming to Fleming's left-hand rule. So this can be extended for current carrying conductor also. So if B is the direction of magnetic field, that is given by forefinger, and middle finger gives you direction of current in the conductor, then thumb gives you direction of force. Make a note of it. We shall move to next, that is circular motion of a charged particle in a magnetic field. Suppose if a charged particle enters in a direction perpendicular to magnetic field, it traces a circular path as shown in the diagram. So here into mark represents magnetic field into the plane of board. Just note on this diagram. Yes, note on this, when circular motion of a charged particle is considered, so these are the formula relevant to that. Radius of path is r is equal to mv by qb. Time period of revolution is 2 pi m by qb. And frequency of revolution is qb by 2 pi m. Make a note of it. M is mass of the charged particle. Q is charge. B is magnetic field. Yes, hope you have taken this. Now, note on this, frequency of charged particle is independent of velocity, provided velocity is very much less than speed of light. For a given charged particle, frequency depends only on magnetic field. Make a note of it. Yes. So we have taken this. So for a given particle, Q by M charge to mass ratio, it is specific charge, it will be constant. So it depends only on magnetic field. So frequency doesn't depend on radius. Time period also does not depend on radius or velocity. This is the principle used to accelerate charged particles in a cyclotron. No need to take this again. Yes. Now if theta is not equal to 0, not equal to 90. If theta is equal to 0, it doesn't experience any force. Theta is equal to 180, it doesn't experience any force. It continues to move. If theta is equal to 90, it moves in circular path. If theta lies between 0 and 90, then it takes a helical path like this. So pitch of the helix, the distance between two consecutive grooves here, that is pitch of the helix. It is Vx into t, that is V cos theta into 2 pi m by qb, and time period remains same as in the previous case, 2 pi m by qb. Make a note of it. Yes. So coming to next topic, that is cyclotron. Cyclotron is a device used to accelerate charged particles or ions to extremely high velocities. It was first designed by Lorentz. So principle of cyclotron is, as energy of charged particle increases, radius of the orbit also increases. So R is equal to root of 2m Ek divided by qb. So Ek is kinetic energy. Time taken by charged particle to complete one revolution is independent of radius. T is 2 pi m by qb. Just make a note of this. This is the principle of cyclotron. Yes, hope you have taken this. So move on to next. So coming to construction and working of cyclotron. Cyclotron consists of two semicircular vessels. They are in the shape of letter D. They are called Ds, D1 and D2. So they are hollow vessels. So they are connected to oscillator. Oscillator means it will supply AC current. So there will be a deflector D here. So whenever the charged particle is kept here and this oscillator is turned on, first let us say this D1 is positively charged and D2 is negatively charged, then what happens? If it is a positively charged particle, it gets attracted towards D2. It gets repelled from T1 and attracted towards D2, so it enters into this. So as soon as it starts entering, there is a magnetic field in the direction perpendicular to plane of board. So because of that, it takes a curved path. So it takes this path. By the time the frequency of this oscillator is set such that it matches with the frequency of revolution of the particle. When it completes half revolution inside and it comes out, then the polarities are reversed. Then what happens? Again, D1 becomes negative, D2 becomes positive, so it is further accelerated. When it enters into the D, it moves with constant velocity, it takes a circular path. Again, it comes here between the D's, polarities is changed, this becomes positive, this becomes negative again. Then it gets accelerated, velocity increases, so radius increases. So every time it comes between the D's, there is acceleration. So due to this, what happens? There will be increase in the velocity and increase in the radius. So due to increase in the radius, what happens? The particle gains more and more velocity, and when radius becomes equal to radius of the D's, deflection plate D is turned on, then it comes out of the system. So this will be the particle. Just make a sketch of this diagram. Yes, hope you have taken this. So we'll go to next. See, important expressions to be considered with respect to cyclotron. So centripetal force mv square by r is given by bqv. V will be equal to bqr by L. That will give you velocity of charged particle. So t is time taken by charged particle to describe semicircular path, pi m by qb. Capital T is 2 times t, time period of revolution for resonance. Resonance means frequency of revolution should balance, will match with frequency of oscillator. So F is qb by 2 pi m, frequency of oscillation for resonance. Note down this. Yes, hope you have taken this. Expression for maximum kinetic energy in cyclotron is of b square q square rm square by m, where rm is radius of the D's. Just make a note of it. Just note down this formula, that is sufficient. Yes, hope you have taken this. So coming to limitation of cyclotron. So we assume that mass is constant, but relativistically it varies. So radius of semicircular path increases due to variation in mass. Time taken becomes more. This is one limitation. So potentials of D do not alternate in step with motion of the ions. Hence, working of cyclotron is limited to relatively low velocities only. You cannot accelerate it to very high velocities. Yes. Moving to next concept, that is Biot-Savart's law or Laplace's law. So field due to current element at a point, it is directly proportional to strength of the current, length of the current element, inversely proportional to r square and all. Just note on the diagram. Just note on this diagram. No need to take this. So just take the heading Biot-Savart's law and note on the diagram. Yes. Now, note on this. dV is proportional to I, proportional to dl, proportional to sine alpha, and proportional to 1 by r square. So it is proportional to ideal sine alpha by r square. Or you can introduce a constant mu naught by 4 pi, where mu naught is permeability of air, free space or vacuum. Its value is 4 pi into 10 power minus 7 Henry per meter. Make a note of it. Hope you have taken this. Shall move on to next. So speed of light relation between epsilon naught and mu naught. It can be shown that c is equal to 1 by mu naught epsilon naught. So note on this calculation. Yes, hope you have taken this. So based on this law, we can define how much is 1 Tesla. So this will come back to this later on. Yes, note on this. This is vector form of Biot-Savart's law. So force is a magnetic field is a vector. So dB equals mu naught by 4 pi ideal sine alpha, or you can write it as mu naught by 4 pi into dl cross r divided by r cube. Make a note of it. Yes, hope you have taken this. Now suppose if you have a circular coil carrying current, field along the axis of circular coil can be calculated. So this gives you the expression. Just note on the diagram and note on the expression. B equals mu naught Ni r square divided by 2 into r square plus 6 square whole to the power 3 by 2. At the center of coil, mu naught Ni by 2r. Yes, hope you have taken this. So coming to next concept, circular loop acts as a magnetic dipole. So if x is very much greater than r, B is equal to mu naught Ni pi r square divided by 2 pi x cube. Just note on these two lines. Continues on the next slide. Yes, hope you have taken this. Continue from there. Ni pi r square is magnetic moment. So B is equal to mu naught by 2 pi m by x cube. So a circular loop acts as a magnetic dipole having dipole moment Ni pi r square. Make a note of it. Yes. Hope you have taken this. We'll move on to next concept. Ampere circuital law. When current distribution involves symmetry, magnetic field can be calculated using Ampere circuital law, just like how we calculate electric field using Gauss law. So note on the statement of Ampere circuital law. Line integral of V dot dl for a closed curve is equal to mu naught times the net current enclosed. Make a note of it. Yes, hope you have taken this. Now using Ampere circuital law, we can calculate field due to a straight current carrying conductor. So infinitely long straight current carrying wire. If we have field due to this, no need of derivation, just note on the diagram. Take the heading magnetic field due to infinitely long straight current carrying wire. Note on the diagram and this directly take the expression. So on the next slide. Yes. Hope you have taken this. So note on the final expression. Field due to straight current carrying conductor is given by mu naught I by 2 pi r, where r is distance from the conductor. Yes. Hope you have taken this. Shall move on to next. Yes. No need of this. Yes. Note on this rule to find direction of magnetic field. If straight conductor is grasped in right hand such that extended thumb is direction of current, then direction along which curled fingers point, that gives the direction of field. Yes, hope you have taken this. Now coming to a solenoid. Solenoid is a insulating long wire closely wound in the form of a helix such that length of the solenoid is very large compared to diameter. Ideal solenoid produces only field inside the solenoid when current is passed through. Now, if we consider a solenoid, field due to solenoid is given by mu naught Ni. Note on this, where N is number of turns per unit length, I is current, mu naught is permeability. No need of diagram, just note on this. Yes, hope you have taken this. Next is, if solenoid has a core of relative permeability mu r, then B is equal to mu r mu naught Ni or mu Ni. At either end of the solenoid, field is half mu naught Ni, and magnetic field is 0 outside the solenoid. Make a note of it. Yes, hope you have taken this. So next concept is toroid. Note on the diagram, toroid is endless solenoid. So you can imagine it to be a solenoid whose ends are joined. Yes. So cross section of toroid will be like this. So note on this also, this diagram also. So field exists only in the core of the toroid. Outside and inside it is 0. At P and Q it is 0. It is present only at S. See, field is present only at S. There is no field here, no field here. So field will be given by mu naught Ni, where N is number of turns per unit length of toroid. So next concept is force between two parallel conductors carrying current. So if two conductors are carrying current I1 and I2, then force per unit length on each of them is given by mu naught I1 I2 by 2 pi a. Make a note of it. Note on the diagram. See, if they carry current in same direction, they attract. Opposite direction, they repel each other. Okay, you have taken this. So if two conductors carry current in same direction, they attract. If they are in opposite direction, they repel each other. Right? Yes. So today we shall stop here. So no homework today. So go through all the formula and all. So tomorrow we shall continue with the synopsis. We'll complete it and we'll move to MCQs. Right. Thank you. Thanks for joining.